This may or may not put us in the classification of bad RV owners. So last week, we're on our way back from the Outer Banks, and about halfway back to Greenville, we realized that our RV brakes were not working.
Yeah, and like a lot of other RV owners out there, we go through a pretty extensive checklist before we take off, which includes checking that the turn signals and the brakes work.
So we pull over on the side of the road. Time to investigate. I go to check the connection from the RV into the back of the truck, and then get this. I realize that our hitch is missing a bolt, and it looks like a pretty important one.
Now, part of this might fall on us for maybe not noticing during maintenance of the hitch, but part of it might also fall on the dealership because it had to have been installed fairly loosely for it to just fall out like that. Instead of going to a dealership or trying to get an RV maintenance person out here, we like to do a lot of this stuff ourselves, if we can.
And we've only got a couple of days until our next RV trip, so over the next couple of days, we're gonna be doing our best to show Cody the RV a lot of love.
It's gonna have a spa day.
Remember that bolt I was telling you about? Missing right here.
This is the magical missing piece.
We're cranking nice and smooth and even. Wait for the click.
Some people say it's not necessary at all, but I think it shouldn't hurt. I found our calls pretty quickly, but let me go over a couple of the reasons that you could be having issues. And go in between your prongs just to make sure that the connection is good. And as any RV owner knows, a small leak is too much of a leak. Notice that it says it is 100% waterproof. Thomas got me this RV backup camera for Christmas and it had pretty good reviews. Don't believe it's reading like it should, so it might be an issue with our power supply. This thing is wired like completely wrong. Last screw and I never want to see this backup camera again.
What's up, y'all?
And I am not an electrician, I just play one on YouTube. So if you're not familiar with how the RV brake system works, it is not only the truck brakes that brake when you brake, it's also the RV brakes. When you plug in your 7-pin connection, that includes your lights and also what tells the RV to brake whenever you press on your truck's brake.
Not exactly sure how other truck models are, but we've got an F-250 and the trailer status screen is where you're gonna find all your RV information.
This screen can show you how many miles you've put on your specific trailer, and it also shows the output, which is how hard your RV brakes are working. Now they work in conjunction with your truck brakes. You can adjust it, and that is your gain. So the higher you put your gain, the more help you're gonna get from your RV brakes. The lower it goes, the less help you're gonna get from the RV brakes. When we took off, this all looked fine and dandy and everything was working well. However, when I pressed on my brakes, this happened. While we're on this subject, I might as well show you the full system. So down here is where you adjust the brakes for your trailer, whether it be your RV or a regular trailer. You press up and down to adjust your gain, but if in a pinch, pun intended, you need a little extra brake, you just pinch this little thing and it'll brake your RV. When we came back here to inspect, it seemed like everything was fine. Nothing was loose, everything was plugged in the way it was supposed to be. But let's back up for a second. Our right turn signal for our RV has been not working here and there for probably the past couple of months. So that probably should have been a warning sign.
But normally it's just a little jiggle and it fixes itself. So you know Victoria, the Google master, started looking up all of the reasons that this could possibly be happening.
I found our calls pretty quickly, but let me go over a couple of the reasons that you could be having issues. Number one, obviously, a loose connection. You gotta make sure that thing is plugged in good. Number two, there is a ground wire that runs from here that can sometimes become disconnected. You gotta take a look underneath for it, but generally you'll find it attached to a sidewall on your truck and you might just need to tighten it. Number three, there are fuses involved in this whole system, so it could just be a blown fuse. You might just have to follow the path and figure out where it is. That's why we carry a big old thing of different kinds of fuses with us. And number four, it could be as easy as your tail light is out, so go give that a check. Now, to what our issue was, which actually turned out to be a pretty easy fix. It's just corrosion in the plugs. So the easy fix for that is to get a little piece of fine sandpaper and go in between your prongs just to make sure that the connection is good. You don't want there to be a lot of brown or black residue. Another thing that might help is over time these connections loosen up. So you can take a little flathead screwdriver and lightly press them together so that the connection is tight. And you can do the same thing to the plug on your truck. So let's give it a shot. Now let's see what happens whenever I press on the brake gain controller. Looks like we fixed the problem, and thankfully it was probably one of the easiest fixes that we could have done and did not involve much electrical or any electrical work at all, which I am learning about, but it's definitely not my forte.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Marry you a woman who knows how to turn a wrench. And now on to probably the most unsafe thing that we've got going on with the RV right now. Remember that bolt I was telling you about? Missing right here. The hitch typically is not supposed to have this kind of give. Now this particular hitch is a Recurve 3. It costs $500 retail, and it was installed by the RV dealership that we purchased our RV from. We started looking online to see if we could come up with the parts that we know that we are missing. However, it's a little hard to find these particular specific size bolts. So right now our solution is we've called our local RV dealership and see if they can order some parts separately from buying an entire new unit. Now that we've showed you why we're bad RV owners, let's show you something that might improve our RV experience. Victoria's gonna do one of her favorite things, and that's put stuff together.
Thomas got me this RV backup camera for Christmas and it had pretty good reviews, so I'm gonna show you how to install it.
You may be asking yourself, if you've been following along, why after 2 years are you gonna now install a backup camera? Well, there's actually probably a couple of reasons. Well, Victoria is an absolute boss parker. No disrespect to her. It will actually help in some tight parking situations.
Also, it would probably come in handy when we don't have any service and we're working off the walkie-talkies and a little bit of delayed communication.
Another thing that it's gonna help with is while we're actually driving down the road, we can use the backup camera to actually see the vehicles behind the RV. You gotta think, we're almost 50 feet in length from the front of our truck to the back of our RV. So it's definitely gonna help out and probably make it a little bit of a safer journey.
This is the AMTIFO vehicle rear view camera system, and it was bought off of Amazon for under 200 bucks. Now, I've never installed a backup camera before, but from my research, I believe all that we're gonna need is something to strip the wires, a Phillips head screwdriver, and a drill. You may also need some electrical tape. Now we have our monitor, sunshade and mount, and our camera. Before I start putting anything together, the manufacturer suggests that you test it and make sure that all the components work first. So we're gonna try that. Now you might actually have to do this in your car, but thankfully we have this handy dandy portable battery.
Shout out to iRocker paddleboards.
This actually works for our pump that inflates our paddleboard so you don't have to be connected to your car. We're gonna start by checking if the monitor has power. So we are gonna connect the adapter, plug it in like you would in your car, press the on button, and let's see what happens. No signal, perfect, turned on. Now we're gonna see if the camera works. So for this, you're gonna take one power cord with loose wires and attach it to your monitor. Take the other power cord with loose wires and attach it to the camera. You're then gonna match your wires and twist together the black and the red. You then take your adapter and loosen your screws and place the positive end, which is the red, into the positive side of the adapter and tighten the screw. And you do the same with the negative, which is the black. Before you test the connection between your monitor and your camera, make sure you put your antenna on. Now there should be 2 for your monitor, and both have to be on, and 1 for your camera. Now we're gonna plug her in Turn her on. See what happens.
Uh-oh. Is that me?
It's you.
What's up? All right, it works.
Now we're gonna put the monitor together. So this comes with a sunshade that we are going to attach. Now we're gonna attach the mount. Now this comes with a couple of little bumpers to keep your device from getting scratched. So I'm gonna stick it in here, pop out the middle piece. I'm gonna do the same on all four. You can tell it's spring here in the Carolinas because I'm already getting pollen on this. Now I'm gonna match the holes with the bracket. Ooh, being careful not to peel off the little rubber washers and secure it into place. This model comes with a couple of options for how to install your monitor. It comes with a double-sided sticky thing so you can put it right on your dashboard, or you can also attach it to this window mount.
Oh wow, just like a mountain goat.
Now our RV, like a lot of newer RVs out there, came pre-wired for a backup camera, so hopefully this should be pretty easy. Let's see what little bundle of joy we got here. And look at that. It's gonna be even easier than I thought.
Okay, cool. We like easy.
This is designed specifically for a Furrion camera. However, I'm really hoping that it'll work for ours as well. I just got discouraged because I was like, this won't go into that. But then I found out we have a lovely little adapter piece that came with it. So let's see what happens. Oh, it fits.
Oh, nice.
Now say this didn't fit. The backup is to take apart your wire and isolate your different red or white wires and then join them to the corresponding one on the camera. Thankfully, we will not have to do that. If your RV does not have this set up at all, you actually have to go and find the power source for your tail lights. So I don't have to do that. I don't have an instructional video for that, unfortunately. We will hopefully try to find one and link one below to help you out, but I think this is gonna work out great for us. If you do end up having to split your wires and reconnect them, this kit does come with a handy little device so that you don't have to twist the wires and tape them yourself. Instead, you put the wires on either side, one here, you clamp it down and it essentially closes the circuit. I'm gonna do the easy part first by attaching the camera to the extra bracket. All right, let's get this thing mounted. So we're gonna push all the excess wire that I finally got out of there back up in there. Okay. Shoo.
Wow, man, that was a lot of wires to get in there.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we actually have to be plugged into our truck, which would run our tail lights, which will also run our camera. So let's give it a shot.
Nothing?
Nope. All right, well, we found out after we installed and everything that I'm not sure what the issue is, but it's not working. Yeah. So we're gonna have to troubleshoot this a little bit and come back to it.
Victoria's attempting to test the power coming from the pre-wired setup.
Don't believe it's reading like it should, so it might be an issue with our power supply. For example, I know that this plug has power because this is what has been powering our monitor, so let me test this. And that's what it should show. So I know Camping World gets a lot of hate, but we did call them to help us out with our hitch that had missing parts, and they had an open box that they couldn't sell and gave them to us for free.
For free,
For free.
y'all. That was so
Thank
nice.
you, David.
Thank you, David. Yeah, for sure.
For this fix, we did have to go out and get a couple of tools that we didn't already have, but we have a 1/2-inch torque wrench that goes up to 250 foot-pounds, whatever that means. We have the attachment that is 1 1/8 that will fit on our bolt, as well as a wrench to hold the nut in place. We're also gonna need a chisel, but we don't have that, so we're gonna use a flathead screwdriver and a hammer just in case we need it. And then this is the magical missing piece. So we have the nut, we have the bolt, and we have 2 conical washers.
Now, obviously, this is not a complete install of this Recurve 3 hitch. If you're looking for that sort of information, we're gonna leave the link below from the actual manufacturer, and they'll be able to walk you through the whole step. But because this is more of a maintenance issue, I'm pretty sure if you've got some loose parts, this will probably do the trick for you. First things first, obviously, we're gonna put the missing bolt in. Oh, fits like a glove, imagine that. For right now, I'm just gonna loosely put this bolt in here because we have a couple of other adjustments to make before we tighten everything down. One of the adjustments we do wanna make is to this screw wheel right here. Now, the purpose that this serves is once we have it adjusted to the proper setting, it's going to reduce the up and down movement that we've been having, and it's also gonna take a lot of the stress off the actual hitch. Another purpose it serves is setting the angle for the sway bars that we attach here that attach to the trailer when we're towing. Manufacturer suggests a good starting point is to have it flush here and unscrew it 5.5 turns. And that is where our fake chisel comes in handy. One way to make sure that you're accurately doing 5.5 turns is to mark the upper notch with a Sharpie and count it off. 5 and a half. We're gonna see how good Victoria's camera skills are if she can hold the opposite side of this bolt while I crank this thing down.
I'm also going to be holding the hitch up a little bit with my knee, and my camera skills are subpar on a normal basis, so
we'll get this done. We've got it set to 250 foot-pounds. Now, this torque wrench, if you've never used one before, should click once it reaches that pressure if you have it set correctly.
Yeah, we didn't get the fancy digital one. It was literally an extra $100, so.
You're supposed to go slowly and evenly and not yank it, so let's see what we got. Am I loosening it?
Why don't we try this again on the right side of things? Because the other way was not working for us.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Project RV, you know that we learn as we go. Oops. We're cranking nice and smooth and even. Wait for the click. Look at Victoria working smarter as she just propped that wrench up under the truck.
Shoo!
Yeah, we're not playing games here, kids. Yeah, you couldn't do this with just any old wrench. Not properly. Man, I maybe shouldn't have worked out so hard earlier today. This is a workout all in itself.
Hashtag humble brag. Was that it?
Top one is completely secure. We heard the click. Now, just to be safe, since we have no idea how the top one fell out in the first place, we'll go ahead and tighten the bottom one while we're here. Well, because it's moving already, I'm assuming that it wasn't tight enough.
The 5.5 turns didn't quite do it for us, so I'm gonna go a little bit past it. I've noticed that our hitch sits pretty high because our truck is a little lifted, so the adjustments might be a little different depending on the height of your truck.
All right, good job.
Nice and snug, and it doesn't have that give that it used to have, so that's good. While we are fixing our hitch, I figured we might as well do a little bit of maintenance. Now, they suggest whenever you are looking over your hitch, you want to get rid of any huge rusty spots. Ours isn't too bad just because it's fairly new. Now, for some of these exposed metal areas, they do suggest that you put a coat of powder coated paint just to prevent further rusting. We won't be doing that right now because we didn't get any when we were at the store, but it's good maintenance. The other thing that you should do is you can grease your hitch with white lithium. Now, this isn't regular WD-40. Notice that it is white lithium. If you go on the RV boards, you'll see all sorts of people arguing about using WD-40 versus white lithium. So we got the best of both worlds. Some people say it's not necessary at all, but I think it shouldn't hurt. Our sway bars also have been getting stuck quite a bit, so I'm just gonna put a little bit in here.
We don't know how common the whole bolt coming out of the hitch setup is. I gotta imagine it's not that common, but we will definitely be doing more regular checking of all components. And now that that's finished, back to the backup camera installation. Okay, well, this is our last resort. We're calling the technical support through our extended RV warranty. After we've contacted Keystone, they can't do anything for us. After we've contacted a local dealership, they can't do anything without actually taking the RV in, and that's pretty inconvenient. So hopefully we get some answers.
Okay, so our plug and play option did not work. It also did not power the camera, so it leads us to believe that it either does not have power going to it or it is wired incorrectly. So we went ahead and took off the mount. And from all the research I've done, it says that the green wire is the positive and the white wire is the negative. Well, normal wiring, I'm sure you may know, red is positive and black is negative. If you pay attention, this thing is wired like completely wrong. They switched the wires, so that might explain why it's not working. So we're first gonna try switching the connections to where they're supposed to be and see if the plug and play option works then. If not, we'll just go directly from the wires. Safety first, we did turn off the power first. Okay. All right, I removed about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of the insulation, so I have room to play with when I connect them to the other wires, and I'll do the same thing on them. So before we connect them permanently and possibly lose more wire if we have to redo it, I went ahead and connected the positive red to the positive green, negative black to the negative white, and just added some electrical tape, and now we're just gonna test it to see if it works.
Okay, let's turn on the car and go ahead and plug in our 7-way connector. Hopefully we got some good news. What?
It works.
Oh, you're smiling. Oh my God. It works. Woo! What's up, y'all?
I'm an electrician. I'll add it to my resume.
Seriously, you are a bad, you know what.
Our installation kit came with these, which are called T-taps. Learn something new every day. So essentially we're gonna put the wires through here and push down this connector, which connects the wires. The most important thing is to keep the wires centered because, well, you don't want to cut them, but you also want to make sure that it will be touching the metal piece. That's our negative, so that'll correlate with this one. All right, we're squeezing this down all the way down to make sure you make a good connection with the wires. Now we got these little tabs, we're just gonna flip on down. I am gonna get rid of some of this excess cord because I don't need it touching each other when we push it in there.
Okay, now that everything's connected, before we go ahead and mount the camera back up, we're gonna make sure that this thing still works. Nope.
Are you serious? So we just tested this a second ago and it didn't work, and it turned out that we did not press down the metal things on the T-taps quite enough. So you really, really have to make sure that it gets down in there to make sure that it connects with the wire. We're gonna put a layer of sealant around this because, well, it's electric. So obviously you don't want water getting in your hole. I did not expect to have to use the sealant for this project, but I am very glad we had it for our window. And it's probably just a good thing to have in general in your RV to make sure all of your sills are maintained and you don't end up with any water damage. All right, we're putting the mounting bracket back on. I'm now gonna stuff the wires up in here, and one thing I don't think we mentioned is that given there was so much extra wire, we actually stuffed it into the wall before we reattached the mounting bracket. Last screw, and I never want to see this backup camera again until we use it. We're gonna use this little Allen wrench on the side to point it exactly where we want it. One thing to note is that with most of these RVs that are pre-wired for these backup cameras, they are set up so they're connected to that parking light that's right up top. However, that is only turned on if your truck lights are turned on. Not automatic, but on. So whenever you are troubleshooting your backup camera, try that first Other people say that some of theirs will only work whenever they press on the brake and put it in reverse. You never know how they wired it, so just try a couple different things and see if it works for you. This is our current setting where it is on automatic, which is where we usually leave our truck, or else I will definitely forget to turn them on. And notice that it says we have no signal. Now watch as I turn on the lights. Ta-da!
Presto.
Now, if your RV is not pre-wired, or if you want to set it up so it's running all the time and not just when your lights are turned on, you can do that. However, you would have to be a little bit more electronically savvy, and I am not an electrician, I just play one on YouTube. Now, the dealership was not any help when we were trying to troubleshoot this. They honestly said just bring it somewhere. We ended up calling the support line from our extended warranty company, and they're the ones that told us that sometimes the connection is bad inside of the RV where it's connected up there. So that's what led us to go searching in the walls. So we've had a bunch of thunderstorms recently that have just popped up out of nowhere, and the last time it rained, we noticed that there was actually some drops of water on the counter, and it seems that we may have a leak. And as any RV owner knows, a small leak is too much of a leak. So we tried to fix it, but it was a rush job and we were in the middle of the rain, so we're gonna go back and try to do it correctly this time. So this is the rush job that Thomas did, but don't judge too harshly. Like, we also did not have a ladder then, so he was literally just standing on the trailer trying to get this done in some sprinkling rain. So we're gonna try to take some of this off and put a new layer. And also try not to scratch our RV's paint. Ooh, some of it's just peeling off.
Nice.
As I was cleaning the old stuff off, I realized that this actually peels back to reveal what most likely is one of the issues right here. Water can very easily pool up and go underneath here. So we're gonna go ahead and seal all this up. We're gonna use this silicone that we bought at Walmart. Notice that it says it is 100% waterproof. And 10-year mold-free sealant, 30-minute rain ready, shrink and crack proof, so lifetime guarantee. We'll see you, GE. We'll hold you to that. When we were doing our research, it seems like you don't necessarily need something super special as long as it's waterproof, it says freeze and sunproof, and the mold-free.
Don't get us wrong, we love Cody. However, one of the downsides of owning a Dutchmen Kodiak Ultimate 2020, it doesn't have a ladder to get to the top of this thing. So that was actually kind of part of the issue to begin with, is I couldn't really assess the area that I needed to very well. But shout out to Wayne, who owns Whispering Oaks RV Park here in Greenville, because he let us borrow his ladder. Good dude. All right, hey, watch where you're pointing that thing, okay? A hot girl with a gun. Victoria with the steady hand here. So she got nominated for this job, clearly because, as she told you, I didn't do so good the first time.
Not your fault. So we let it sit for a while. This sealant says it's 30-minute rain ready. So we give it about 30 minutes, but it's time to get out of here. So I'm going to put the little rim back on. Whatever you call this.
Okay, everything is sealed, and we are actually expecting rain here in the next couple of days, so I guess we'll keep you updated as to whether we did a good job or not. Okay, now time for the big test. We're gonna figure out what kind of handymen we are here in the next couple of days, between the rain, towing the RV 2 hours over to the Triangle, Durham, Chapel Hill, Raleigh, and making sure that our RV brake works with Victoria's little
Electrical fix.
Yeah, and of course, we'll see how the backup camera does. Obviously, fixing the hitch gives us a huge peace of mind in terms of safety, but immediately you can tell that the ride is a heck of a lot smoother.
Yeah, it used to be when we would go over bumps, there would be like a lot of up and down there, and you could kind of hear it in the back, but now that it's all like 1 or 2 pieces, it's a lot smoother.
So I guess that's a big old congratulations and thumbs up for Hitch Fix success.
So it did rain quite a bit last night, and it seems like our sealant job held up because there is not a bit of moisture under here or on the countertops at all, even though my plants might have wanted it, but it's probably better for the RV. So far so good on the backup camera. It's really nice to be able to see like directly behind us while we're driving, because we are almost like 50 feet long. I think the only thing that really needs to be changed is the angle, because it is pointing a little bit too far down, so I needed to point out a little bit more. But all in all, I think you did a good job choosing backup camera, and I think it'll work for anybody that has the pre-wired setup, as long as it's pre-wired correctly.
And I guess all that's left to talk about is the RV brakes that we were having an issue with, where Victoria sanded down the connector. Well, we're driving in the rain right now and actually had to stop pretty suddenly, and the RV brakes did their job, so good stuff. So as it stands right now, I'd say our RV fixes and upgrades are a success. We'll keep you updated on that. But I think that really just goes to show that we're a couple of people that are learning on the fly, and if we can do it, that means you can too.
Yeah, remember that owning an RV, unless you have all sorts of disposable income where you can get it looked at every other week, it means knowing how to fix an RV.
And that wraps things up. So we will see you next Sunday, where we're going to be hanging out in Central North Carolina, the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill.